So hello, everybody. Welcome to Crystal Coast Unity. It's so good to be with you today. I feel so blessed since I'm not there in person anymore that I can still be with you online. I love that. So as you know, many of you do, that Reverend Todd has dedicated the year 2021 to the study of the 12 powers of man, those spiritual potentials within every person, which as they are developed through awareness and practice, lead to the growth of the Christ consciousness. This month, we're focusing on the faculty of zeal. Zeal, a little used word with a very specific spiritual meaning. Unity's co-founder, Charles Fillmore, said, "Zeal is the impulse to go forward, the urge behind all things. Stagnation, inertia, and death would prevail throughout the universe without zeal. The person without zeal is like an engine without steam or an electric motor with no current." Fillmore is pointing out the tremendous importance of our God-given ability to meet life with joyous enthusiasm. Without it, we'd be unable to find the energy to move forward on anything. We'd be like a revving car engine stuck in neutral. As with all the 12 powers, zeal has been given to all of us in abundant supply. Yet we've all known people like that noisy engine, folks who are filled with nervous energy, yet paralyzed by their own dark thoughts, like all that's wrong in the world, or how they've been victimized by life, or by doubts that their hopes and dreams can ever be realized. I understand, don't you? Most of us have been in that place at one time or another. Traumatized by some event or circumstance, we've made the subconscious decision that it's just not worth taking another risk of failing or being disappointed. So we play it safe, banking down our zeal, perhaps even falling toward a state of apathy. But you know, even then, zeal is under the surface, waiting for us to kick it into gear and get it moving. The people of Laodicea were described in the book of Revelation as lacking in zeal. The angel said to them, "I know your works. You are neither hot nor cold. Would that you were either hot or cold. Because you are lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth." Wow. But it reminds me of the young Catholic priest who told this confused 16-year-old girl, "Catherine, the greatest sins are not sex sins. The greatest sins are sins of boredom." I have reflected on that my whole life. A person who is not in touch with his power of zeal is unable to reach for the fullness of life. Unaware of his or her power to manifest her heart's desires, she is blocking the development of his or her physical, spiritual, and mental potential. Perhaps it's because these folks do not yet realize that when life knocks them down, they can call upon their faculty of will to activate the life force that is still humming quietly in the background. I once did a memorial service at Unity in Greensboro for a woman named Sharon. I didn't know her personally, but we had a mutual friend who asked me to lead the service. Boy, was I taken by surprise when dozens and dozens of people came to honor Sharon. During the sharing time, one woman spoke at length about her. Turns out she'd had a pretty hard life. She had not experienced much material success at all. For years, she had lived in a run-down trailer park outside of town. and she suffered from several chronic and painful physical conditions. But Sharon was known far and wide because of her generosity, upbeat personality, and resilient spirit. One story was particularly touching to me. Seems that whenever she was feeling low, instead of complaining, she would write an affirmative power statement and put it in her I can. Over the years, this humble 2-pound coffee can became stuffed full of those little slips of paper. It occupied a prominent place on a shelf in her little kitchen. Sharon told everyone about it. She said that every time she saw that I can, she was reminded that no matter what, she had the power to be happy if she chose to be. Many others told Sharon stories that day. It was a long service. Obviously, she was a person rich in friendships. People flocked to be with her. They wanted some of her optimism and happiness to rub off on them, I guess. They called her Queenie because there was never a gathering in which she did not hold court. Now, you and I know it took plenty of willpower for Sharon to write down those power statements in the midst of her troubles. But the payoff was nothing less than a life of joy. We were not created to be angry, disappointed, disgruntled people trudging through life, dying by degrees. By awakening our powerful faculty of zeal, we can become not a follower, but a leader, not a plodder, but a radiant, enthusiastic manifestation of zest for living. So yes, the same amount of zeal has been given to us all, but how we use it determines whether it will work for us or against us. Zeal, it turns out, solely directed towards self-centered material goals, can consume us with its heat and friction. Simon, the disciple who represents zeal, claimed his true power only after he chose to follow Jesus. Before that, the Gospels describe him in two ways: as the Canaan, referring to his heritage, and as the zealot, referring to his way of life before he met Jesus. Both descriptions give us insight into the zeal faculty before it is spiritualized. The Canaan in metaphysics is one who exists in and for material things. Apparently, this was the dynamic of Simon's family and tribe. The zealots were fanatics who lived in the mountains and fought the Romans, trying to free their country from foreign domination and restore self-government to the Jews. Before zeal is placed under the direction of the Christ within, the heart center, or higher consciousness, it is prone to exhaustion. We can easily become overzealous in our efforts to make money or gain power and prestige, or successfully complete a project, or even fighting for injustice against injustice. This kind of zeal can serve as an awakening of true enthusiasm, but allowed to take over and dominate our thoughts and actions and our energy, it can become a fire that burns us up and depletes us. Single-minded focus on outer goals, no matter how worthy, sooner or later takes its toll. In our stressful world, it's common to experience, or at least hear about, people who have experienced burnout, a toxic mix of a disillusionment, chronic disappointment, fatigue, sadness, and anger. Unfortunately, Ministers are very prone to this kind of burnout. When Simon became a zealot, he joined a group of rough men living a very hard life up in the mountains, filled with a passion for the ideal of a free nation, fighting, resisting, and resentful. The zealots undoubtedly had great dedication to their cause, but their power was eventually depleted by trying to force results in the outer world. Oh my goodness. Have any of us been there? We all need something to feel passionate about. We all need goals that ignite our inner fire, which is a good beginning. But then we need to learn to use our fire in the right way. When we put first things first, when our first goal is to develop our spiritual power, or what Jesus called the kingdom within us, zeal is released in a steady stream to keep our energy tanks full and our batteries charged. When Simon changed his way of life, became hungry for truth, and joined Jesus and the disciples, he stepped into his destiny. Now, there was more power available to him than he could generate from inside of himself. Simon the Zealot learned to give up fighting and work in harmony and peace with the other disciples under Jesus' direction. Together, they were highly effective in teaching the new gospel. In just this way, the power of zeal, under the direction of wisdom and love, will empower us to live joyfully while fulfilling our purpose, coping with our problems, while growing in spiritual power. Mr. Fillmore said it plainly. In your enthusiasm for doing the good work of spirit, do not forget to turn a portion of that enthusiasm to the establishment of the kingdom of God within you. Do not put all your zeal into teaching, preaching, healing, and helping. Help your own soul first through prayer and meditation. Do not let zeal run away with your wisdom. For zeal without wisdom and love is a fire burning out of control. But under the leadership of wisdom and love, it becomes a tremendous energy that carries us forward to greater and greater achievement. So I was wondering about myself and about you maybe, and I want to ask, what is it in you or in your life that has the power to block the flow of your natural zeal? What attitudes and beliefs sap your energy? Is it fear of failure or embarrassment? Is it overstimulation or excitement, which has very little to do with real spiritual zeal? Is it lack of clear intent or unresolved resentment? Or maybe if you're Catholic like I was, some survivor guilt. Wounds from the past have maybe caused us to lose some self-esteem and self-confidence. Or we're not good at taking care of ourselves, so we have insufficient self-care. The grandiosity, huge visions, personal ambition, perfectionism. Do you see what I mean? Just to name a few. For example, it's easy for me to get carried away in my desire to transform the world or even help my family and friends. I know many of you have felt this way too. You know, our lives have gotten so much better to the practice of unity principles that we want everyone we love to have the same experience. We want to make a difference. I know. But the thing is that we sometimes can forget that our first job continues to be healing ourselves. developing our own spiritual nature and potential. We have to be reminded sometimes that our greatest influence on others will always be the result of what they see in us. Like the 12-step programs say, it's a matter of attraction rather than promotion. Fillmore puts it in a poetic way. He cautions us to never judge zeal by the noise it makes. Zeal functions best when it glows from within, like that burning bush that Moses encountered up on the mountaintop above the crowd. Here's something I discovered in working with this faculty of zeal. Have any of you suffered from neck pain like me? Again, Mr. Fillmore, sometimes, he stops preaching and goes to meddling, but anyway, he says, the faculty of zeal makes its home at the base of the brain in the back of the neck, in the medulla oblongata. From this center, it radiates energy to accomplish good. If this ardor is directed toward controlling, or competing with others, it may bring about a stiff neck. If there are too many years of determined effort toward a human cause, an arthritic condition in the neck may result. This is exactly what happened to me. I'm learning that the Zeal Center is particularly receptive to tension. It seems that there is such a thing as caring too much and trying too hard. And so in developing the faculty of zeal, it's essential to apply a good portion of our energy for personal healing and spiritual growth. Thus, Unity students attend classes and develop sound meditation practices, which allow us to listen within. And just as important are practices that help us relax. As we awaken our enthusiasm and begin to direct it toward spiritual growth, it really helps to remind all the nerves and muscles in the back of the neck to let go and let God do the work. We may need to say this to ourselves over and over again. Just relax. Let go and let God work through you. The nerves and muscles of the body were created to serve us. When we continually remind them to relax, they will obey. But if we become carried away and begin pushing for results, they may develop tensions that will continually call attention to themselves. Remember, Fillmore says, you are not here to be dictated to by the demands of your body. You are here to develop and exercise your Christ nature. Your body is designed to help you do this. My goodness, this certainly speaks to me. All of a sudden, zeal seems like more of a relevant word than it did before. The power center at the root of the tongue and the zeal focal point at the back of the neck are both points through which tremendous energies can be released, but neither faculty seems to have the know-how to self-regulate and direct their own energy. So power and zeal must be guided to right use. The good news is that if we remain centered within, the Christ consciousness will pour out its wisdom to guide us in becoming the person that we came here to be. When we're filled with spiritual enthusiasm and centered in God, we do not burn out. I had a great teacher once named Mary Morrissey. I bet you a lot of you have too. And I've been to several of her programs, and I noticed that no matter how long the day was, sometimes 12 hours, she was always on that stage in high heels looking radiant. And I asked her, Mary, don't you ever run out of energy? And you know what she said to me? She said, I source energy, which I've been thinking about a lot since then. You could tell that she felt joyous and energetic. When we source energy and let it flow into us, we're alert and we get to bask in the feeling of being totally and vitally alive. Once again, it's important to remember that Zeal, like all 12 powers, develops best in a field of relaxed expectancy. In a sense, we are playing with fire. Fire can serve a tremendously useful purpose, or it can burn and destroy. Zeal, rooted in human thoughts and feelings, tense and anxious to achieve its goals, can produce very destructive results. Spiritually charged, however, Zeal burns steadily like a pilot flame and manifests in the accomplishment of our dreams and an abundant flow of good. It takes time and dedication to truth principles for Zeal to grow to the point where it is not an expenditure of human energy toward a human goal, but rather a joyous expression of our oneness with God. But when this happens, life becomes a playground in which everything that happens and everyone we meet is a new opportunity to learn and grow. So how's that? This for an affirmation today. My life is a spiritual playground. The poet Mary Oliver, who bought us wild geese during our work with the Faculty of Order, has returned today to speak to us of zest for living. The poem is called The Time Before Death. It's one of my favorites. To me, it's truly a prayer, and it goes like this. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and then snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? But for now, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea and consider eternity another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as unique. And each person's name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence. And each body a lion of courage, precious to the earth. And when it's all over, I want to say, all my life, I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. I'm with Mary Oliver, aren't you? A bride married to amazement, a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. Humility and awe, tenderness and joy, no regrets. Savoring the moment without demanding that it either stay or depart. For me, these are the gifts of the spiritual faculty of Zeal. And now, I'd like to invite Deidre to lead us into a time of meditation with a beautiful song.
What if a prayer is not a plea, a desperate call with tears that fall on bended knee, but breathing out and breathing in, it's God in me that lives and breathes, my trusted friend. My life is a prayer that God is praying. My thoughts are words that God is saying. My laughter is the sound of angels praying. My life is a prayer that God is praying. What if today I had the chance to move and sway? God leads the way in my life's dance. What if I knew without a doubt, no need to sway, God is here right in without. My life is a prayer that God is praying. My thoughts are words that God is saying. My laughter is the sound of angels playing. My life is a prayer that God is praying. My life is a prayer that God is praying.
And so we enter into a time of reflection this morning, seeking conscious contact with our God. We begin by breathing in the love that radiates from this community. Opening our hearts, we receive the blessed peace that's surrounding us. And we relax. And we allow the presence of God flowing from every person here to embrace and enfold us. We gather this morning as one body to acknowledge and celebrate the Christ Spirit that lives so vibrantly within us all. The inner voice of Spirit has called us home to this faith community, to be awakened and inspired, renewed and healed. As spiritual beings, we are continuously called to a higher vision, a greater thought, a deeper love. By being here today, we have said yes to this call. And so the gifts of Spirit are ours. Peace, healing, love of life, no matter how far we may wander from this home place, no matter how depleted we may feel at times. We can always call upon our faculty of zeal, and it will renew our spirit and restore abundant life to our spirits and souls, bodies and minds. As we enter into a time of silence this morning, let's consciously open the door to zeal by settling into the quiet, timeless God energy around us and basking in its warmth and power. We affirm, I am relaxed and centered in my heart. Joy of living fills me and flows through me. My life is truly a spiritual playground. In the silence, we return our attention to this physical time and space. We bring the power of spiritual zeal with us. Like a pilot light within, it glows with a steady supply of energy and enthusiasm. And for this, we are wholeheartedly grateful. And so it is.